It's been 1 week since Corporal Nathan Cirillo was gunned down while standing on guard at the National War Memorial in Ottawa. He was laid to rest yesterday. Many are asking how Canadian youth could become so radicalized as to murder such a man, while 2 articles published after the Ottawa shootings give us an insight into the mindset of some local Islamic organizations. And what you'll find is shocking. The articles from the North American Muslim Foundation, a registered charity, and Crescent International, both based here in Toronto, put Canada at fault. They also show very little sympathy for the families of the victims. Joining us now is Raheel Raza, president of the Council for Muslims Facing Tomorrow. Raheel, there were some Muslim leaders of the Ahmadiyya denomination who, in the wake of this murder, stood up and said, we are against it. I find the Ahmadiyyas particularly good at distancing themselves from terrorism. And I think a lot of other imams sort of shut up, which probably was a good thing to do too, rather than say things that were foolish, as some sometimes do. But you have brought to us today 2 examples of Muslim leaders who have Muslim or Islam right in their name or mandate, who blame Canada and blame the victim. It's almost too much to believe.
It's absolutely shocking. You know, this is shocking because at a time of a tragedy for all Canadians, where 1 million Muslims residing in Canada with one voice should have been heard to say that they're really sorry to hear about the death of 2 of our soldiers, and a death in such a way, you know, a terrorism attack. But of course, those voices were not there. However, I know that, you know, many people have that sympathy in their hearts. But these 2, this one press release and this one article was absolutely shocking.
Let's read the first one. This is a press release from NAMF, the North American Muslim Foundation. Let me read an excerpt from it. Canada has hardly been a neutral country in the world in the last 13 years. Despite its peaceful and innocent self-image, it has poodled right into a U.S.-led war that has cost millions of innocent lives and turned tens of millions into permanent refugees in the another part of the world. So you're writing about a terrorist attack in Canada that just murdered a man, and you start saying, well, Canada's not blameless, Canada's not innocent, Canada killed plenty of people. That sounds like a justification to me.
So is it any surprise that then we have young people who are radicalized? This is the message that is being given to thousands of people, because the man who wrote this is also an imam of a mosque.
Who's that?
That's Imam Shahryar.
Really?
Yeah, he wrote this, and his byline is below this press release. It very clearly says he's an imam. And let me also mention to you that this is not all. About 3 weeks before this, he gave an interview on an ethnic television station in Urdu, which is my language, and I understand it. And when I read it, I couldn't sleep at night. It's absolutely shocking.
What did it say?
I've translated some of it into English. And let me remind you that this is beamed through satellite to thousands of homes. What it says is that Muslims don't know it, but the West is at war with them, and there are going to be rivers of blood shed.
Oh my God.
What it also says is that how can they say that the ISIS people are beheading? Who knows who's behind the mask? It could be Mossad agents.
And this has a registered charitable status under the Canada Revenue Agency.
This has a registered charitable status.
I want to look more into this imam. Now, is this on your blog, RaheelRaza.com?
Yes, it is. It is. Right, I took it and cut and pasted it exactly in its entirety from their website.
Okay, well, let's put Raheel's website on the screen so people can go visit it directly. Raheel, I want to quote from the second instance you brought to us. This is from Crescent International, and that's run by Zafar Bangash, who really runs defense for the Iranian Ayatollahs, am I right?
Yes.
Let me read from his blog, Crescent International. This is the second comment. Regardless of the identity, background, and motive of the perpetrator of the attack on Canada's Parliament today, 2 things are clear. Islamophobia will escalate further, and Canadian civil liberties will be curtailed even more. Again, no... On the day a Canadian is murdered by someone waving the flag, rhetorically and morally, of Islamic terrorism, to blame, to say, well, Canada's going to be even more mean to us. Canada, which has welcomed 1 million Muslims, I find that odious. But that's Zafar Bangash for you.
But so are many other people thinking the same way. What's horrifying is that there are many Canadians who are afraid to say that this was a terrorist act. So I asked,
does it take... Thomas Mulcair wouldn't say it.
Does it take 30,000 people to die before you call it a terrorist attack? And besides, it's not a lone wolf attack. You have to connect the dots from the time that the Toronto 18 had a plot to behead the Prime Minister.
I tell you, I have brought my own scrutiny to a number of fake charities that have caught my eye because they're anti-oil sands. That's not a religious matter, that's a political matter, an economic matter. I find it deeply concerning that someone like National Association of Muslim, NAMF, the National North American Muslim Foundation,
Yes.
is saying what they're saying with charitable status. I think that's concerning, and I'm going to look into this further. Raheel, thanks for bringing this to our attention. Again, folks, if you want to learn more, go to Raheel's website, raheelraza.com.
Thank you.
Thanks, my friend. More.